Hey, welcome back. Today I have a special guest who has built one of the most impactful careers in real estate, and we are diving into systems, mentorship, and how you can scale your business the way that this agent did. You do not want to miss this one-on-one interview with the one and only Josh Smith. So my guest today is my partner, Josh Smith, and over his career, Josh has closed thousands of transactions, built one of the top best real estate podcasts in the world with GSD Mode, and has mentored thousands of agents. He recently moved his business to eXp and aligned with the Wolfpack, and his mission is to impact 40,000 agents worldwide. So Josh, thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here. I'm excited for this.
Yeah, me too. So, as mentioned, you've closed thousands of deals and transactions throughout your career. What systems or habits allowed you to produce at such a high level without burning out?
Yeah, so when it comes to burnout, I've found that burnout does not exist if you have two things. Number one, if you are extremely clear on what your purpose is, so what you're working towards. Okay. And then number two, if you unpack the right strategy plan, because why burnout exists. And this is, I'm not a student of psychology, if you will, human behavior. And so burnout, and it feels a lot like depression, but the difference between burnout and depression is burnout is work related. So when we're taking massive action on something, or we're taking consistent action on something, but we're not getting the expected, results from that, that's where burnout can set in. So how I've avoided burnout is I'm always extremely clear on what I want, why I want it, why it's important to me. So I always know what the mission is and why I'm, putting in all the hard work to get that done. But then from there, I've always, look, man, I'm a college dropout. I scored a 17 on my, ACTs, I'm like, dude, I've never looked at myself as being the super intelligent, meaning that I don't have an ego. So for me, it's like, dude, I know I'm not the smartest, I know I'm not the best, but there are super smart, are super great people that have figured out how to go out there and create the success I want to create. So I when people always ask me, oh, Josh, you're so good at this. How'd you get good at, whatever. I'm just like, dude, I'm just a good pirate. Yeah. I go identify who's created the success I want to create. I break down, reverse engineer what they're doing, and I just steal it, man. And I just model after them. It's like Tony Robbins, talks about, the greatest success hack is modeling after others. Yeah. So those would be that's how I avoided burnout. Then from there, if you're asking, okay, well, how have you created this, the success, sold 7,000 homes and, 40 deals your first year, 103 your second, and then start building the team and, scaling that is, there are three traits that I've discovered that you must have in order to create success in this industry and probably any industry or any aspect of life. And if you don't have these three things, everything else is irrelevant. Right. You can have the best systems, you can have the best tools, all that stuff is irrelevant if you don't have these three things. So number one, you have to have the burning desire to succeed. You've got to have it, right? Napoleon Hill talks about this in a sane fashion in his, Think You Grow Rich book. But this is just, okay, your purpose, right? Okay, is Tony, and I'm dropping Tony Robbins here a lot right now out of the gate, but it's like, he says, we don't meet our wants in life, we meet our musts. Yeah. So until this thing becomes hey, this is a must thing, because okay, outside of real estate, hey, I've overcome obesity, loss of 100 pounds. I've overcome substance addiction, alcoholism, so I've done, had a lot of other personal battles I had to create in each one of those until I got extremely clear on why this must happen. And got it to that deep core root where it's, there's a saying out there that, you're if your why doesn't make you cry, it's not powerful enough, right? So what is that burning desire? So an example with this, okay, I quit drinking 5 years ago and I tried drinking. I went 15 years of my life with not going a day without having 12 drinks, right? Built most of my real estate team on drunk, right? Which I'm laughing, but it's not something I'm proud of. Right. And I tried to quit so many times, but then, okay, one day it's Halloween. And we have a party, get together with friends, kids are out trick-or-treating, we're having a bonfire, all this stuff. And I get so sloppy drunk that my 12-year-old daughter had to help me up the stairs. Then we had our master bedroom lock. It's just one of those where you could stick your thumb in it and turn it. Yeah. I couldn't even get my thumb in there to turn that. I couldn't open up she had to help me in the bed. And I was so ashamed, so embarrassed. I was like, I can't have my kids. I mean, that's going to be a memory at 12 that she's going to have for the rest of her life.
Right.
And I'm like, I can't have that. And until that hit with me, and now I have that purpose of like, hey, I'm not just doing this for me. Like, I got to do it for my kids. I can't, this is not the man and father I need to be and want to be for my family. So you get whatever it is. And I don't care if you want to close 6 deals a year or 600 units a year, right? Like, you got to get extremely clear on why this must become a reality for you to accomplish. It's not a want. Oh, that'd be nice to have, or I'd like to do this. No, this is what I must do. Right? So that's number one, burning desire to succeed. So that purpose, that must. Number two is you got to have a hard work ethic, strong work ethic. Now, when I say strong work ethic, like maybe you're part-time, I'm not saying that you got to work 100 hours a week or 80 hours a week, but within the time allocation that you have to have, you got to be willing to work your ass off.
Yeah.
Then number three is you got to be coachable. Like, if you're this, oh, I know it all, I already know that. I already know. No, you don't.
Yeah.
Right. Like, if I've learned that. Okay, anytime I find, because it happens. So I already know this. Like, it happens to all of us. So whenever I have that, I use that as a trigger then to ask some follow-up questions. Okay, so if I already know this, okay, number one, am I doing it? Number two, have I mastered it? Number three, do my results prove that I've mastered it? If I don't have those three questions answered yes, then I don't already know this. Right? So you got to be coachable, right? You got to always be willing to learn and expand and try new things. And if you don't, I look at this as like the three-legged stool to success. If one of these legs is missing, that thing's gonna fall over. So maybe you got two of the three. That's not it. You got to have all three of these things to go out there and create success. So that's what I found to be the most important thing, because you got those three things, like everything else can be figured out.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I want to say thank you for sharing some of the personal story, because I'm sure there are a lot of people out there who might feel the same way and just feel like that's the life that they're meant for. And you can absolutely change it with the right mindset. That's 100% true. I've also dealt with that kind of struggle in my own, and mindset is absolutely what pulls me out of it every time. So I think that some people can really relate to that. Now, as far as your podcast, you have built an amazing podcast with GSD Mode. How has the content creation helped you to attract clients and impact even thousands of agents?
Yeah, what's funny is it all happened on accident.
Oh.
So when I first before I was even licensed, when I was in real estate school, like back in 2005, there was no YouTube, there was no, but I realized very quickly that through real estate school, like, this isn't teaching me anything about how to make money. Yeah. So I just started interviewing and picking the brain of every single person that would allow me to take them to lunch. And pick their brain. I had guys like Russell Shaw, right? Like these big, massive hitters, the goats of the industry that gave me so much of their valuable time. And when I was at a point in my life where there's nothing I could do in return to repay them. And at that point in time, I committed to, okay, no matter how much success I create, when somebody needs me, asks me for advice or for help, okay, I'm going to do that for them. But then it got to a point where, we're selling 500-600 homes a year. I got kids. I got a family. I'm like, I didn't have time, right. Because I get so many people that, hey, can you take, can we meet up for coffee? Can we, so then I was like, hey, this is when like YouTube, was kind of not just on the scene, but like starting to become more bigger. And so like, hey, why don't you send me your questions? I'll just answer it on YouTube. It'd be more powerful for you, because then I'll just save the video. Like, you can say, have the video, but then I can help others. Yeah. Like and this was even before GSD Mode, right? Like, so it's just started, tailoring it. I never, just like most things in my life, like, I didn't even plan on staying in real estate forever. I wanted to open up a health club. So I jumped into real estate to raise capital, go open a health club. And I would say, health fitness became my passion. Real estate became my obsession. So everything I've done has been kind of unplanned. It's just kind of happened, if you will, through that. So, that podcast wasn't, like, it just kind of grew out of that. Then from there, as far as, attraction, yeah, I mean, it's helped tremendously, right? Because people aren't going to, whether it's a buyer, seller, or whether it's an agent, it's all the same process. I always say that you're either recruiting a buyer, recruiting a seller, you're recruiting agents, or you're recruiting your leadership team to do those things for you. But like, people aren't going to choose to partner with you in any capacity until they know how much you care, till you've had some element of deposits, in their life. So yeah, it's been tremendous on, from coaching clients to agent partners, or when I had the team, or the brokerage side of the business. But it starts with I don't ever do it for, I'm doing this to attract agents. I do it from the lens of, okay, that agent that maybe never will join me, right, that's struggling, that used to be the past me, because there's going to be exponentially more people that watch and tune your content than will ever partner with you.
Right.
Right. So, I mean, I've had millions of downloads over the years. I'm not going to partner with millions of agents. It's not, right. But if I can get a small percentage, 40,000 that develop the connection that we're able to roll together. But yeah, I mean, if you look at right now, it's about 2 agent, new agent partners a week that just come in from the content, that are just, reaching out to me, where it's also allowed it to become more inbound versus, chase.
Yeah. I love that too, because I kind of feel the same way. Like, I want everybody to win. And if that means it's not here, that's okay. But I think that's important, because the support that a lot of agents aren't receiving, because there are too many people who think we are all within competition of each other. It's a little crazy to me, but yeah, I feel the same way. I want everybody to win. But you did just recently move your business to eXp. So what was that? Why did you make that decision, and what made you specifically choose the Wolfpack?
Oh man, this is going to be a longer answer.
Okay.
I never thought I'd make the move. I think I have talked more crap about eXp than anybody else out there. The first 5 years, I just thought it was a joke. I was like, there's no way they're going to make it. Like, with the model, I'm like, this is a joke. It's just a bunch of freaking annoying recruiters. I thought it was like the Amway of real estate. I didn't get it. I didn't understand it. I didn't take the time to really break it down and do my due diligence on it. I just judged it, right? Then the last 5 years, like, I knew it worked. They started attracting the top, so many top producers, team leaders. Lots of my great friends started joining their top, other top team leaders and top agents throughout the whole entire country, and really now the globe. I'm seeing friends of mine show me rev share checks north of like $300,000. So I'm like, dude, like, for 1 month, 300 G's. Like, I'm like, okay, I knew it worked, but then I had ego and emotion. I want to do my own thing. And, we're going down the franchising world, built up 105 locations, and we're going down that path. But I get asked this a lot of, like, how did you get recruited in eXp? I'm like, I didn't. Like, I found eXp, it didn't find me. I mean, don't get me wrong, I had people reaching out recruiting, but like, to me, it was just dismissed, not interested, whatever. But a few things happened there. So as a franchisor, you're selling these franchises. So your job is to coach and train broker owners, which is great, but I'm like, man, like, these broker owners are making all this money, but the agents, are still not winning.
Right.
And I've always looked at myself from the lens, even when I've been, the team leader on the brokerage side, the franchising side, area rep, all those different sides. Like, I always looked at myself still as the lens of the realtor. And I was like, man, the realtor never wins. And yeah, we make some commissions, but I'm like, dude, like, all the people that are making it big in this industry are like the team leaders, broker owners. Right. It's not, like, the realtor just gets shit on. So, again, seeing that and it just never set well with me.
Yeah.
And I was trying to crack the code on how to figure that out, right. But then from there, with all the NAR stuff, lawsuit settlements. Now, we flew under the radar. We didn't get hit with any of them, thank God. But there's a reason why NAR, Remax, eXp, Keller Williams all went through settlements. They knew they couldn't go fight these DOJ-backed attorneys. And what people don't hear is the stories of, there's a ton of brokerages, and I know personally, numerous of them that got slapped with the lawsuit settlement. There was no getting out of it. You couldn't restructure through bankruptcy, that were forced to sell just to pay off the settlement. Like, 20 years of hard work down the drain. So then I'm like, okay, man, got all this liability coming up with this new lawsuit era. Now they're getting ready to, formulate the buy side, and they're going after JVs next. And so, like, this is going to be like an extended thing. The seller lawsuit, the settlement, that's only good for 5 years. And the DOJ has been very vocal. They're not happy. And so I'm like, dude, for our entire lifetime of our career, we're going to be battling these lawsuits. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, from a liability risk exposure standpoint, I'm like, man, dude, I'm 43. I've got a wife, I got kids. I don't want to have to reinvent the wheel and start over. Yeah, right. If I was 10 years younger, 20 years younger, okay, fine. But then from there too, like, most of my time got spent on doing crap I hated. Like, I built a prison for myself. It wasn't like I love coaching and training agents. And I was like, well, dude, like, 5% of my time is spent to focus on that. All my other time is spent on doing crap I hated. So I was, not enjoying it anymore, was miserable, with all the liability, agents not winning. So I just started looking at, what's a better model out there? There's got to be a better model where I can plug into, because I think I've leveraged eXp maybe a little bit different than others have, is I was looking for how can I build a brokerage inside of a brokerage, leverage their staff, leverage their tools, leverage their systems, leverage the liability, leverage all the headaches, where I can allocate my time in doing what I love doing, which is, I don't necessarily enjoy recruiting. Why I enjoy recruiting is I know I can make a tremendous impact on these agents. Yeah. So I was just looking for that, and then stumbled across eXp. I found other models, real, whatever, but eXp, to me, I mean, they're the best financial position by far. They'd already, proven it. They've already went through all the growing pains that all these other companies yet, all of our other, copycat competitors haven't went through yet. So not saying they won't make it through, but it's unproven yet. They, right? Where it's like, okay, we're a multi-billion-dollar market cap, debt-free, only publicly traded real estate company at 15 straight quarters of profit. So like, because I'm like, if I'm making a move, I want one last move for the next 30 years. Like for the rest of my career, that's it. Yeah. And then there's other little things like, with our other biggest competitor, Real, it's like, okay, I couldn't get rev share unless I was in production. I'm like, no, I want to be full-time, adding agents and then coaching and training agents. Like, I don't want to do production anymore. Right. Right. So I'm like, well, that blocks my rev share and the whole point of a retirement plan. But then they're, telling me like, hey, Josh, you can't offer your coaching, to your agent partners. You offer to the whole company. And I'm like, well, I can't offer to the whole company because everybody has one-on-one access to me. And if I'm not getting a financial gain out of this, like I can't do what I do and emulate it without watering it down tremendously. But they're like, nope. So then I'm like, okay, well, why would somebody join me versus their friend? Like you've removed all my unique selling propositions.
Right.
So a lot of reasons that led me to eXp, which, I mean, it was very clear within a week or two of due diligence that eXp was the place to be. But then I spent several months researching the upline to join. Cause like, look, Mike Sherrard, known him since before we even got in real estate, right? Like I've known the guy for a long time and great friend of mine, but I have lots of other great close friends that have been here forever that built also amazing, downlines and whatever. So, and I knew I was going to have to, somebody was going to be pissed, but I had to take it from not an emotional aspect, not a friendship aspect. I'm like, hey, if I want to build this, it's all about our agents. Yeah. Right. What do I plug in where we have the best coaching, training, support platform for agents to set them up for success at the highest level? So I just did an honest audit, like what am I really good at? But then also what's my weakness? What am I missing? So I'm like, okay, I'm really good at systems, processes, really good at scale. If you're going from 1 deal a month to 4 deals a month to 10 deals a month to 50 deals a month, like I can get you there and get you there fast. I'm good at traditional business. I'm good at paid online. But if anybody ever came to me and said, Josh, I want to make $1 million a year through TikTok, I'm like, I don't know what to tell you to do. Right. So I looked at this and like all this AI stuff, like for me personally, like I hate it. Yeah. I'm not saying that to not leverage it. That's not amazing. It is, but I'm like, okay, I got to partner with somebody that their obsession, their wheelhouse, their skill set, their strength is my weakness and vice versa, where now we have the most complete coaching platform, support platform, training platform that exists for agents. And that became pretty obvious after my due diligence that I was Mike Sherrard. Yeah. And that's what then led me to the Wolfpack and, best decision I've ever made, man. My wife gets sick of hearing this because I tell her every day, but I'm like, man, I just wish I would have been smart enough to at least sit down and understand this model 10 years ago. Yeah. Lives would look so much different today than it does, but best time to plan tree 10 years ago, second best time today. So, and then also if I would have joined, then I would have been with Mike, and Mike was, with the Wolfpack, with you, with all of us, like it is the best thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, I agree. It's, I say this a lot. I'm sure people are so tired of me hearing it or saying it, but, eXp is my 4th brokerage, and I've been here longer than any other brokerage. I'll never go anywhere else. I've done everything from like the local bigger brokerages to, I actually lived in Goodyear for 2 years, and I joined a boutique brokerage up there, and it all led me to where I'm at with the Wolfpack. And I love the innovation that we have, because I'm back in Tucson now, and I feel like there's so much lack here when it comes to not just being in the game, but staying ahead of it. And so I do definitely think that it's a way that we all stand out when it comes to our trainings. So I just love that. Now my next question is, how do you balance high volume production with mentorship, and what's your structure for training agents at scale? How do you manage to give everybody your best?
Yeah. So the first question there, because there's a few questions there. how do you manage high volume production, with, supporting and attracting agents? I think that was the first part, right? And to be honest with you guys, I haven't had to do that at eXp, but I did have to do it as I was exiting, from production over time in my team. Because there was a time where, it was like, okay, I sold 40 deals my first year, want to double going into my second year. There's no way to do that without support and help. So I hired my full-time assistant. They did 103 the second. Then, okay, again, like I'm 2 weeks booked out in my schedule. Buyers and sellers won't wait 2 weeks. I might wait 2 days. So I knew I was losing business. So I started adding agents. So technically that's when my team started growing, to work all my overflow clients, overflow leads, splitting those deals 50-50. So then from there, but I wanted to build a business because I wanted, money freedom and location freedom and time freedom. And the only way to do that, well, kind of do it through building a team. But really the only way to do it is through rev share, right? Is what I discovered. I thought the team was the option, but also this was pre-eXp, but then from there it was like, okay, in the beginning phases, okay, my agent's production after splits was maybe 20% of the revenue or 10% of the revenue. Mine was let's just say it was 90-10. Okay, so then from there, it's like I had to allocate my time based on revenue coming into my business. So I call it red light, green light time allocation. So, okay, if 90% of my revenue is coming in from my own production, then I'm going to allocate 90% of my time, energy, focus to that. Then I'm going to allocate 10% to my agents, right? Now I'm going to do that, with systems, processes, extremely effective, extremely efficient. So then all of a sudden this kicks up to 20%. Now I can allocate my time down to 80%. Then this kicks up to 30%. So I'm just playing red light, green light. So then I'm able to slowly, get myself out of production. And then become more of a team leader, coach, trainer, all of those things in my agents without having to take a dip in revenue. Because the biggest mistake that most make is they start allocating 50% of time to their agents, 50% of their production, where their agents aren't bringing in 50% of the revenue. All of a sudden their revenue declines, now they're in financial trouble. Well, then they got to abandon the whole agent side altogether and go back into just production mode. So then they're on this freaking crazy roller coaster, right? So I've always just matched revenue based on time through red light, green light time allocation. Then from there, as far as, okay, like how do you train your agents at scale, right? For anybody wanting to do this. And again, I had to crack this code in Teams. I had to crack it into, my coaching program where I've coached over 5,000 realtors from all over, I had to crack it in the broker side. I crack it in eXp, so number one is like, if you don't give a place for your agents to be resourceful, you become the only resource. Yeah. So I remember 4 years in this journey, I go to one of my mentors. I'm like, dude, I'm ready to freaking quit this team thing, dude. Like, I feel like I'm running an adult daycare. I'm like, this is a mess. And he's like, well, it's your fault, right? I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, well, dude, like, Josh, you haven't given them a way to be resourceful on their own. So they're blowing you up 24/7 because you're the only resource they have. So then it registered, then it started clicking where then I was like, okay, like I used to do, okay, like one-on-one, like I bring on an agent, I coach them one-on-one, or if I brought on 3 agents at a time, we'd all get in a conference room and spend a few days just coaching them through everything, but then, okay, like as human beings, we only retain 10% of what we learned the first time around. It's like, if you want to master a book, you got to read that at least 10 times, right, to, retain the knowledge in that book, so then I just started recording everything that I did. Right. So if I'm doing a listing presentation, okay, let me record it. I'm doing this, let me record it. Let me, right. So I just started recording all my trainings. Then okay, you record those trainings, you transcribe them. Now you have the manual, then you build that into a checklist. So like when I bring on, like, okay, like, before I started eXp, like when I was still running, operating my team, like an agent joins us. Okay. They went through a 14-day onboarding process, getting their, goal setting, business planning, getting their tracking system, CRM setup, listing presentation, buyer consultation, sphere of influence plan, strategy plan, follow-up plan, CRM, like everything was just done through video. It was just like, okay, here's a categorized, organized university where you can walk through with all the steps, and that's what I found I doing at scale. But it's not just from, what I found at this, because initially I kind of had some guilt on it, like thinking, oh, I'm just doing this selfishly. It's not better for the agents, but what I found is it's actually far superior for the agents, right? Because now they can re-reference it and go over it and over it and over it and over it. They can watch it, pause, do the thing, watch it, pause, and re-reference as much as they need. So then it allows them to truly master something, so with that, we've got like how I do it today is, I bring on an agent. Now there's still one-on-one component, right? Like we found with the onboarding, like we do one-on-one, like we want to walk them through and get them set up on all the tools because everybody's different tech savvy levels. I want to get them started as soon as I can. So with, the initial onboarding session, then I will do an initial one-on-one coaching session with them just so I can identify, strengths, goals, whatever, but then from there we plug them into our online university That's walking them through. I got 200 hours of just everything that you can think of how to grow and scale your real estate business, what you need to master. Then we always have, a weekly live component to it too, where it's all done in group, right? And there's very rare, like even today, I've got, close to 300 agents since I've been at eXp just this year that I brought on. So 295 precisely as of right now that I've, recruited just in 8 months. So this year, and I maybe get one question a day, right? But we've also done a good job at breaking this stuff down. Like you want to chunk this stuff down where like a 12-year-old could figure it out.
Yeah.
Like it's like, okay, like, hey, get a seller on the phone. Here's the exact questions you're going to ask them. Here's the exact appointment setting script. Okay, when you hang up the phone, here's the exact email confirmation that you're going to send them. Here's step-by-step how you prep for that listing presentation. Here's the confirmation video text you send the morning before or the morning of, right? Like you're going to pull up the property 15 minutes early, do this visualization exercise at 10 minutes early. You're going to be knocking on the door. When they open up the door, look them in the eyes, reach out your right hand, shake their hand, say this. Like dumbing it down where it's like, 'cause I've always, like, and I learned this with my team, is I became so driven on, okay, nobody that ever joins my team can ever come to me and say, hey, Josh, I didn't succeed. I'm quitting. I'm leaving. And I didn't succeed because I didn't know what to do. I'm like, I'm going to eliminate every element of my guesswork. Right? Like even to the point where I get this task and to call this person, okay, click this, it pops up the task. Here's what to say if you get them on the phone. Here's the voicemail to leave. Right? Where it's just like all you can self-admit is that you chose to not do the work.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it seems like you've done it all for them. So that's amazing. And that's helpful for not just like new agents, but agents who want to scale too, that maybe they've been kind of at a loss or a standstill of how to do that. So that's amazing. I love that. And so to touch on that a little bit, so you have your own systems and your training, but how are you also using eXp's platform to help other agents out that might be joining you?
Yeah. So, I mean, of course, leveraging, eXp's got 2,500 full-time support staff. Yeah. Like like I've been in this business 20 years, Remax my first 10, Indy the last 10. I would have never complained about support, but I never knew what world-class support looked like till I joined this brokerage. It was the first thing that blew my mind. Like I've never went 60 seconds without getting the answer and the support that I need on anything. So, okay, we're leveraging that. And of course, walking our agents through part of our onboarding call is who to go to for what, obviously all of their tools, so, whether it's Lofty, KV Core, Close, Canva Pro, so leveraging all of their tools, and then from there with their 70 hours of live training every single week, look, that's a lot. Nobody could ever handle that. So this is where, we identify, like if I got a new agent, okay, hey, I'm going to, highly encourage you to get through Fast Cap, which is all about how to get 4 customers in your first 6 weeks, right, or within the next 6 weeks, or if I've got somebody that's more seasoned in this market right now, and or it could be anybody, but let's just say somebody that's more seasoned, they want to start building a team. Yeah, let's train on that. Or if they want to get, like I recommend everybody right now to get certified in, REO foreclosures and institutional investors, because there's going to be a huge flood of business coming in from that. So that can make sense for some to get those certifications that are free through eXp. So we kind of pick and choose based on what their strategy plan is, what they're looking at doing, from that aspect. But no, because they offer so much, nobody can do it all. So then, but they don't need it all. Like I always tell people, like, hey, look, you're probably going to need about 10% of this. Yeah. 90% of it's just going to be distraction. Let's identify the 10% that you need and let's plug into those. Because the biggest issue I'm seeing people have right now is focus. Like everybody knows that things are shifting, things are changing, they need more leads, they need, whatever. But then next thing you know, they're focused on 12 different things. No, you should be focused on maybe 2 things, doing those brilliantly, consistently, mastering those things, like doing 12 things half-assed isn't going to get you to your goal. But doing 2 things and mastering those 2 things and, doing them consistently will get you to your goal. Right? If you want to close 100 homes a year, it's really just mastering 1 or 2 things. So really just, but we want to meet them where they're at, right? And then plugging them into the resources. And I'll tell you, one of the hard parts about eXp is because they, offer so much, but they're always adding so much new stuff for us. Like, man, like every time I jump on, a call to, learn, like they have 4 new things that are offered for us that I wasn't aware of, so, which, that's not a negative, that's a positive, but you also got to be clear on what is that you need, what is that you want, and let's plug you into the right things.
Absolutely. That's what I do feel like when I first started with eXp, that's kind of how I felt. But you find your groove and you figure out what you want to do and you use just those resources. And then once you get good at it, you add in another one.
Yeah.
And then add legs to that stool, right? So, okay, so if an agent watching this right now is struggling to grow, what's the first small shift that they can make today to start turning it around?
Okay, so we're talking about agent and production business.
Yes.
Yeah, so look, if you are struggling, like you should not be, well, let me take a step back, right? So there are going to be, anytime I bring on a new agent, brand new agent, there's a few things, actually ends up being 5 things that we want to get dialed in immediately out of the gate. Now, this should not be a 90-day thing. This should be like a 5-day thing, right? So we want to make sure that we've got, like, you're clear on what you want, why it's important to you. So your goal setting and business planning. We want to make sure that we got your tracking system set up and your CRM set up. Those are the 2 most important tools that you're going to be using daily in your business. And I know tracking isn't a fun thing to do, and the vast majority of this industry doesn't do it, but I always can tell if somebody's truly committed or not based if they're tracking their data. Because people tell me, I go, I want to make more money, I want more time with my family, but they're not tracking. I'm like, dude, you're full of shit. Like, if you were serious, if you tracking your data, because right now, like, it's like going to the doctor and saying, hey, I want you to fix me, but you're not allowed to run any tests. So now they have no choice but to be like, okay, here's 50 pills, but if one works, we're not going to know what one works. So if we want to get to 1 closing a month consistent, we've got to track your data, right? That's going to create predictability. We're going to know what works, what doesn't work, but we're also going to be able to see bottlenecks in your business. So let's just say you're at a 50% appointment set to conduction rate. You should be at 75%. 4 very quick, easy things that we can do overnight to get you from a 50% to 75%. That might make a difference of $50,000 a year to your bottom line, right? So getting your tracking system set up, getting your CRM set up, making sure that we got your past clients sphere of influence plan in place because we don't want to neglect that future gold. Then from there, we identify your strategy plan. And if you're struggling, you just need one. I don't care what it is. Yeah, right. But here's the thing is you got to make sure that you're picking the right thing that's going to get you to the goal within your timeline. So I'll get an example with this. I get a lot of new agents that come to me that are struggling agents. They're like, oh, I really want to build my business through Instagram and YouTube. I'm like, okay, look. Amazing lead sources. Like if you look at just YouTube as an example, highest converting lead source I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
But I'm like, but then I'll ask them, how long can you go without a paycheck for in trouble? Oh, 4 months. Okay. Now, if you do everything right, you don't make one mistake, it's going to be at a minimum about 12 months before you start seeing good, consistent flow from this business. Yeah. So like, we got to make sure that, okay, if we need money within 3-4 months, we got to scale this fast. It's going to be prospecting based. It's going to be open houses. It's going to be cold calling. It's going to be door knocking. It's going to be getting face to face. So you got to make sure that you have that right thing. But then from there, it's one thing. It's like, look, I'm not saying they got to go door knock. I've never door knocked. I'm not an advocate of, right. But it works, right. But when people are complaining like, oh, I'm struggling so bad, I'm like, okay, if you door knock 5 hours a day, 7 days a week, for the next 30 days, you got to get business, even if you suck. Okay. If you do an open house every single day, 7 days a week, even if you suck, you're going to get business. So once we identify that thing, like start taking freaking action. And I talk to so many realtors, they're like, oh, I work 60 hours a week. We start doing a time study on them. They actually work in 15, or 20 of those 60 hours. Right? The rest is spent, like, look, I'm a podcaster, you're a podcaster. I believe in podcasts, but when am I listening to podcasts? When I'm working out, when I'm getting ready in the morning, right? Like that's not work, that's working on the business, and you that's stuff that you do off hours, right? So I'm talking work. Yeah, right. And I look at, okay, if you're closing a deal a month, that should be a 10-hour work week. If you're closing 2 deals a month as an individual agent, 2 deals a month, 20-hour work week, 3 deals a month, 30-hour work week, 4 deals a month, 40-hour work week. If you're not hitting those numbers, and I know a lot of agents that are doing 2 deals a month, working 60 hours a week, but they don't have the right strategy, they haven't mastered the strategy, or they don't have the right systems and processes. Right. So I'd say that like get the core foundational items in place that's going to allow you to scale. Because what's going to happen if you don't get those first things I talked about in place is you're going to start popping a deal a month, 2 deals a month. Now you're going to get so overwhelmed and busy with that you can never take the time off to get those things in place. And now you've created like this, low ceiling for yourself. And that's where most get stuck. Like most that have been in this business 30 years, just repeat the same crappy year for 30 years straight and just figure out a way to survive. You don't want that to be you. But then from there, once you have those core things in place, just pick one thing, right? Make sure that one thing will lead to revenue in the time frame that you need it, and just take as much action as you can. Because I always look at this too, like if you don't have any business, like your only business is getting business, right? Like you should be out there whether it's, maybe you're part-time, it's only 4 hours a day, or if it's 8 hours a day or 10 hours a day, like you should be doing nothing else but getting business. Right. Like nothing, right? And you can go out there and get deals pretty damn fast.
Yeah. Yeah. There's definitely enough business for everybody. That's for sure. Okay. Last question, bonus question. In regard to joining the Wolfpack, I know that because you mentioned the AI training. So with some of the other types of training that we have and the community that we have, would you say that your business and your goals are aligned with where you see your future based on what the Wolfpack has?
Yeah, 1000%. And I'm one that, look, I'm a guy that does his due diligence. Yeah, right. Especially when you're walking away from 105. Yeah, this was a big move for me.
Yeah.
So I was certain before I made the move that this was the right move to be. 8 months in this journey, I'm still 1000% certain that this was the best move to be. And I mean, just from the culture, the camaraderie, all the co-sponsorship opportunities I know exist everywhere else, but there's just a different culture in the Wolfpack.
Absolutely.
But then look, dude, Mike is so freaking brilliant,
I know.
at what he does. And so the first thing when I said to Mike, before I made the decision to join, I'm like, dude, I'm going to 40,000. And if I go to 40,000, that means you get to 40,000. Yeah, right. At that point, we're going to be making more money than we ever thought we'd be making. Now, one of the biggest things I kept hearing over and over, because I spent months just interviewing everybody I knew at eXp, every coaching client I've had at eXp, but also eXp agents that were there but then left. And one of the common things I kept hearing is, oh, my sponsor, my group, my organization was great when I started, but now, they started making so much money. They went to retirement mode, which is good. That model allows you to do that. But it's just, I don't get anything anymore. Right. So I go to Mike, I'm like, hey, dude, like the mission must always become before the money. Yeah. I'm like, until God takes away our ability, like our obsession needs to be, providing the best support coaching. And I already knew what his answer is going to be. Every year the guy makes more and more money, but he gives more and more and more. Okay. And he was like, yeah, let's roll. Like, I'm in. Yeah. Right. So just, having those partners, having that support, and just for me, it's just not for me. It's, because again, I'm building my business a little bit different than anybody, not than anybody else, but than most others is right. I'm leveraging this to build a brokerage and a brokerage. So when I look at all other models out there, not just with eXp, but any and you guys can take this a grain of salt because I'm biased. But I truly believe that we have the best coaching, training, support platform that exists on this planet, paid or offered. Yeah, right. Like, I don't care if you're paying $100,000 a year for coaching. Like, you're not going to get, what we offer here. Absolutely. So yeah, I just being able to support our agent partners as we grow, and yeah, it's phenomenal.
I agree. That's one thing that I preach all the time. It's nice because if it's somebody in the Wolfpack, whether they're going to make money off me or not, they are willing to support or help or collaborate, which is what I love. We are all considered partners in this organization. And that's what's kept me here for 4 years and probably for the rest of my career. So, yeah. Okay. Well, thank you so much for your time and for sharing all of this amazing value with everybody. And for those of you who are watching, if you did get value from this conversation, make sure to comment, like, and subscribe so you don't miss future agent success stories. And if you are not on track to hit your goals, then you should reach out and you could book a private call with us, with Josh and I. And I will link all of his stuff below for anybody who would like to follow him as well. So thank you so much for joining in, and we will see you on the next one.
All right, see you.
Thanks, Josh.